Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh, thanks to Empire Properties. And thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, get your stuff to the cloud. Most importantly, save money while you do this because print management costs sneaky on that budget. Copiers Plus can get you that free print assessment once you go to copiers-plus.com. A little bit of hurricane relief housekeeping before we get started. Wanted to highlight the fact that the NC State Ice Pack and the North Carolina hockey team are going to have free admission this weekend for their hockey games. NC State's taking on Ryder on Friday at Wade Competition Center. North Carolina's taking on Alabama. Alabama then's taking on NC State at Wake Comp on Saturday, and then North Carolina will be hosting Ryder at the Orange County Sportsplex. As they noted, for Tar Heel Hockey and Ice Pack hockey games this weekend, with a donation of non-expired, canned, and non-perishable foods, cases of water, blankets, sanitation products, and toiletries, or can openers and utensils. All collected items directly benefit App State and Western North Carolina. So if you're going to go to some hockey this weekend, bring the goods. If you got nothing going on this weekend, by all means, go bring some goods and go check out some quality hockey. You might see me at Wake Competition Center on Saturday for that NC State-Alabama game.
I feel like that's your new home away from home.
It really is. In fact, Jacob's got games on Saturday at Wake Comp. I got to be the DJ again. And here's the other thing. I have not seen our banner for Ice Pack games.
Oh, I'm sorry?
Yeah. I purchased the banner.
Nice.
So look, man, you gotta grind.
Yeah.
We got to get word out for the podcast.
Absolutely.
So I have I purchased a banner.
Is this like Little League Baseball, like banner in the outfield?
Yeah. It's
minor league baseball, banner in the outfield.
So when you go in a Wake Competition Center for a game at the Red Rink where the Hurricanes do their practices, my understanding, I haven't seen it yet, but Tim told me that we have a little banner with our flag, the posted flag logo up there with all the other advertisers as well.
I love this.
I actually just bought a quarter-page ad for Carry Band Day, Joe.
Carry Band Day.
It's got a QR code. You'll be proud of me. It's got a QR code and everything.
That.
So yeah,
I like that.
Ovies and Giglio podcast, proud supporter of the Enloe Eagle Marching Band.
Yes, we are.
Go Eagles. Let's go. All right. I don't know. Maybe Enloe football, by the way, has been really, really good. They might find themselves in a promotion relegation situation for this proposed college student football league, Joe.
I'm sorry. That's not what they're calling it, is it?
Let's work backwards, shall we? Because it's been a pretty wild 24 to 48 hours in the landscape of college football. All right.
Okay.
Let's set aside the ridiculousness of expansion, where Gonzaga is now joining. I said it right? Gonzaga?
Yes.
Gonzaga is now joining the Pac-12 as a all sports except football member.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure if the Zags get a quadruple bye in the Pac-12 basketball tournament, but stranger things have happened. Say, hey, this works for us in the West Coast Conference. Got to work for us here in the Pac-12, right? And then I was seeing UTEP has informed Conference USA that they are leaving the Mountain West, leaving for the Mountain West. They're going to raid the MAC, dude. Look.
I mean, they've been trying. I think Texas State told them no.
Yes. But here's where we are in college football. Is nothing sacred where leave the MAC alone? Don't mess with MACtion. Okay? Don't mess with MACtion. Now, yesterday I highlighted the Big Ten SEC meeting of the minds that was taking place in Nashville to go over a potential scheduling partnership along with what they want to do with the college football playoff, right? And I stated bluntly that this is a power grab. It's a power grab for television money. It's a power grab for how to shape the future of college football. And quick context here, because I think people don't know this. We were talking about this with Felder, and we're still kind of figuring things out with the new 12-team format, which is not going to stay a 12-team format for very, very long. That's the thing. Because when you go back to the agreement to expand the college football playoff to 12 teams, it would only last for this season and the 2025 season, meaning that in the 2026 season, we could potentially have a new format. And the proposal that's been floating around since February, according to Ross Dellinger over at Yahoo Sports, 3 automatic bids for the SEC and the Big Ten were on the table. 3-3, 2-2, 1-1. 2 for the ACC, 2 for the Big 12, 1 for the Power for the Group of 5. But now they've been pushing more for a 4-4, 2-2-1. And you're wondering, well, how can they get away with this? I did not realize this. Ross Dellinger, his understanding at Yahoo Sports is when they agreed to the new college football playoff format, they also agreed to allow the SEC and the Big Ten and ESPN, the broadcast partner, to make the decisions for them. So when the college football playoff meets, the 11 members, you've got your Power 4, you got your Group of 5, whatever's left of the Pac-12, they can all have a discussion. But as Ross Dellinger pointed out, there is no vote taken. If the SEC and the Big Ten agree, we're going 4-4, 2-2, 1-1, well, then that's what the college football playoff format is going to look like, which there's a larger conversation to be had, Joe, about what's really ruining college sports. It's not NIL. It's this. This is what's ruining college sports. The power grab by the SEC and the Big Ten who want to control college football. But that's where we are right now, and this could change pretty quick in the next couple of weeks.
So what you're saying is the Big Ten and the SEC got together and said, hey, either give us control of this playoff or we'll go and form our own thing.
We're out.
And we won't participate in this.
And if you're Jim Phillips, if you're Brett Yormark, as boisterous and blustery as he can be, at the end of the day, they're both thinking, well, here are our options. Either we're literally left behind by the SEC and the Big Ten, or we can have some seat at the table in this playoff format. It's an easy decision for those conference commissioners to make. Yeah, we'd rather have you guys in it, be with you guys than not, because then we'd truly be left out in terms of television dollars and everything else when the next contracts come up in television.
What's the extra one? One for Group of 5.
Group of 5.
What's you said that to get to 14? It's 4-4, 2-2, 1-1.
Yes.
So what's the extra one?
I don't know what the extra one is.
Okay.
It Notre Dame?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can't guarantee Notre Dame a spot, can you?
No, you can't. No, you can't guarantee it.
No.
Well, I mean, there's at this rate, they are at least in the mix based on their ranking.
Sure,
right?
sure.
But if you go 4 automatic qualifiers for the SEC and the Big
10, and Big 10, that's 8.
2 automatic qualifiers for the ACC,
that's 10.
Look, man. What's Notre Dame going to do? I think we understand what Notre Dame's going to do. They're finally going to join a conference, and it's not going to be the ACC.
Well, they're contractually obligated to join the ACC.
Yeah.
Until whatever year.
Kelly just popped up on my shoulder. Contracts are only worth what you want to buy them out at.
Sure.
So, yes, they're contractually obligated to be in the ACC, but you can buy yourself out of that contract if you want to. Because if Notre Dame has no place at the table, and there's one conference with 2 automatic qualifications and another conference with 4, I think it's pretty easy to understand where you're going. You're going to go to the Big 10 if you're Notre Dame.
Yes.
So there's that. So, but this ruins, I mean, look, we're just coming off record ratings for Alabama and Georgia. Because regardless of what you think
that's
about
weird. They finally played during the regular season.
Weird, right?
Huh.
Strange how that happens. But those games still have stakes. And I know you've talked about this. The minute you go to automatic qualification, that kind of stakes go out the window. Go out the window completely. The SEC and the Big Ten have enough football programs that they can earn their way in to having 3 teams on a pretty consistent basis in the college football playoff. So I'm not quite sure what automatic qualification is getting you other than because you can.
What the power conferences in the case of the Big Ten and the SEC are saying, we're adding all of these new teams. You want us to continue to schedule Alabama and Georgia on a regular basis?
Yeah.
You want us to continue to put Texas in the situation where they're playing interesting teams on a regular basis, as opposed to, oh, I don't know what Ole Miss is doing this year. Right. Well, then guess what? We want a guarantee.
Makes sense.
Because otherwise we're not going to play these games because it doesn't behoove us. Because as we all know, people can't, in football, basketball, we could gloss over losses all you want. A selection committee, much to your chagrin, doesn't care about losses. They really don't.
We're not having this argument yet.
As opposed to in football, where it's like, well, Tulane's 12-0.
Yeah.
UCF, Cincinnati's 12-0. That's better than a 10-2 team. And it's like, not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
But we cannot process losses in college football. We act like they are, and they used to be. Quite frankly, they used to be the end of your season.
Yes.
Quite frankly.
Yes.
So I get that you're trying to overturn decades of a mindset, but I can see where they're coming from in terms of them saying, I want 4. These other conferences just saying you can have 4 and you can have 4. Whew, that's seeding a lot.
Now, like I said, work back, let's go back to get to where we are today. So all that context about the SEC and the Big Ten and how they're doing a power grab here, it's not a coincidence that we finally have this college student football league, super league proposal finally make its public debut.
Why are they putting the word student in there?
Because Bubba Cunningham knew it would trigger you. He knew it. Remember, you're a priority, Joe. You're a priority.
I'm on the list.
You're on the list. And I think Bubba Cunningham said, hey, look, we can come up with all sorts of names, but there's one thing I just need. If I'm going to be an ambassador for this thing, one thing I need. Please put student in there so Giglio's head would explode.
Gross.
So yesterday, College Football Super League was officially unveiled. It's put together by a group known as College Sports Tomorrow. It's a collection of industry leaders, TV guys. You got venture capital in the mix and things like that. Nicole Auerbach had the press release, and she put out the power brokers that are involved with this, including Chris Belacqua, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, who is the co-founder and CEO of Simple Bet. That matters as to where things are right now in sports. He also is the guy who was behind College Sports TV, CSTV, which eventually became the CBS Sports Network. You also have Bolt Ventures. Grant Hill is a board member. You got the Haslams. They've got money, obviously. Tennessee, which makes it sense that Danny White, who's the AD at Tennessee, is on as an ambassador. And as I pointed out to Bubba Cunningham when we talked to him a couple of weeks ago, he is listed as an ambassador. And I asked him specifically, how did you get involved with this? And what exactly are you looking to accomplish with this college football playoff super league?
A lot of ideas and thoughts about where we're going. There's a talk about consolidation in the industry. Maybe we're going to have 2 super conferences. And then there's others that are saying, how do we include everybody? And I've been a part of a number of conversations with a group that has talked about trying to include everyone. And, the environment's changing. We've been told twice in the last 40 years by the Supreme Court that we're in violation of antitrust. To me, the simplest one that we have that we haven't utilized is the CFP. And it has one contract and one group of students that play. Every other television contract has multiple sports, multiple kids, multiple tentacles that are harder to separate. So it's always seemed to me that football nexus is the most logical one to create some kind of a collectively bargained situation. So anybody that wants to talk about how we make it better and how we provide more resources to those that generate it, given this environment, I'm happy to talk to them. So yeah, I've had a number of different conversations about that.
How do you get consensus across all of college football? How do you kind of feel you can tackle that?
Yeah, well, I think the group that I've worked with and talked to, they have a number of different relationships. They've built leagues. They've done those things before. So they wanted my perspective on what does college sports look like? What do we think we need? They're the ones that are developing a broader scope that might be able to do it for all of us. And obviously you've got 130 schools playing at the highest level. You've got what the number is now in the Power 4 or Power 4.5. I don't know what we call it now with the Pac-12 or whatever's going on there. So, I think if we're going to get something through Congress, we need really broad-based participation. If this goes to consolidation, you have 24 states. I don't think that's enough to get something through Congress. I think you need a broader support to support college athletics because we're playing in all 50 states. And I do think we need it. I think we need a national governing body. I think we need help on state laws to preempt it. And I think to get that through Congress, you're going to say, this is an agreement we have to have with the players just because they have to be compensated because of the way we are right now. And I think we need your help so that we can have national rules. And I think the broader you are, the more likely you're going to have success with Congress.
So that was Bubba Cunningham with us a couple of weeks ago when I asked him about his name being attached to this group. And Giglio, the way that I see this playing out, the Big Ten and the SEC going in one direction, clearly everybody else is worried about that direction, and they have to do something to combat that. And that's where this system comes in. And I wouldn't dismiss it outright, because if you see the names that are attached to it, it's some serious money, some serious power brokers. And I don't think it's easy to dismiss this. The question is, would those in the decision-making capacity in college football make the right decision? Because you and I both know, when it comes to the greater purpose of the game, they usually make the wrong decisions. And trust, because I looked them in the eye with an alliance, and our word is bond, right? They agreed to the SEC and the Big Ten being able to make decisions because they trust the SEC and the Big Ten to make decisions that are good for everybody and not just them, even though we have a long track record of the SEC doing what is in the best interest of them. Same with the Big Ten. So who do you trust? I wouldn't trust the SEC and the Big Ten. And I think these people are the people that understand where these things have to go. And I would be more inclined to go with that group, the Bubba Cunningham group, than I would anything related to the SEC or the Big Ten.
Yeah, the primary hurdle here is you're eliminating conferences.
Yes.
I mean,
but it's for football. It's for football only,
right? But what do you think the SEC is without football? I mean, they're a really good baseball conference too. But
so here's the Power 12 conference 72 school model, right?
Oh, and before you do that,
yeah,
I figured out the student. Instead of calling it, they should just call it the College Football Super League.
They should have, yeah.
But you can't call it the College Football League because there's something called the CFL already, the Canadian Football League. So for the sake of the acronym, it's the CSFL, where it really should just be CFSL, the College Football Super League.
Okay.
Student they threw in there for their own masturbatory purposes.
To trigger you.
Yeah.
But look, how do you look, man, this thing's right up your alley. They got a Carolinas division, Clemson, Duke, NC State, North Carolina, South Carolina, Wake.
You see that?
How do you say no to that?
I mean, I don't. Where it gets interesting is how they break up the SEC.
Yeah, that's true.
Alabama, Auburn, sure, they got to stay together. Kentucky, Louisville, interesting. Tennessee, Vandy.
Yeah. Vanderbilt's
meanwhile,
like, what? Huh?
Meanwhile, Georgia's over there going, I don't mind this. Florida, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Miami, and Central Florida is your big winner out of that group there too.
Yes.
So
yes.
You're saying not to dismiss this?
I would not dismiss it.
Okay.
Only because there's real legitimate money behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you tell the SEC and Big Ten your football no longer belongs to you. I don't see how that is a viable thing.
Also, this is the 64 schools, the group of 8. Do I see ECU in there? Is ECU in there? In the Atlantic.
They're in the irate Giglio. App State, Charlotte, Coastal, ECU, Gasso, Jaw State, Kennesaw State, ODU. Yeah.
By the way, that Atlantic, that's where the Southeast has to be relegated to. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine
you go up and down?
Can you imagine NC State dropping down in that group?
Absolutely.
He's like, wait a minute. You telling me we got to go up against freaking Biff? And we got to go up against Ab? What are we doing? What are we doing here? So yes, give this to me. I think this makes the most logical sense. Honestly, I think this makes the most logical sense. And I'll reiterate my point. There is enough money and enough industry insiders with this group that I don't think it's something that you can just laugh off. But to your point, you're right. It's going to be really hard to have the SEC come off their position as long as Greg Sankey's the commissioner. He ain't giving that up.
I think it's more likely that the SEC and Big Ten break off and do their own thing than this.
That's true. But then you can have the leftovers to do their own thing.
And I like the leftovers with a relegation system that would be based on geography. I like that.
And then we can have a battle, and then all of a sudden we can have an AFL, NF. What would we call that?
Then we can have a merger.
What?
They could play against the champions could play against each
Mind you, this will be 2050.
Yeah,
but hey, and who knows? Maybe we'll be doing the podcast. We'll be doing a podcast with a brain implant, but who knows?
I got no shot at 2050, buddy. No shot.
I believe in you, Joe.
No,
I believe in you.
No shot. Housekeeping.
And it's brought to you by our friends at Enovana. Check them out at enovana.com. ENOVANA, Green Cleaning Solutions. They came out to the house yesterday. They did a fantastic job, as they always do.
If you have mess inside your engine or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
All right, Joe, we got the OG Golf Classic taking place on Friday. I don't want to say this is like a meeting situation, but we're going to have a meeting.
Okay.
People make plans. Sometimes those plans change, which means as quickly as the OG Golf Classic was filled up, my understanding is we have maybe an opening, maybe 2 openings. What's going on here?
2 single openings right now. It's been a bit of a scramble.
Very appropriate
We're
for
playing,
golf.
We're playing a Super Bowl format, but it has been a scramble. There's just a lot going on. And I get it. And I appreciate, in particular, I appreciate our sponsors who have been the ones who are like, obviously they make a commitment to us and they say, I still want to support you, but we can't play.
Gotcha.
So what they're doing is basically saying, we'll sponsor the group. And we've seen that with Copiers Plus. We've seen that with our friends at Easter Automotive Group. And it happens. So if there's 1 or 2 people out there, if you're interested, can get out there, want to win some amazing prizes, please let me know. Giglio.joe@gmail.com.
We have an amazing bourbon raffle that'll be taking place at the golf tournament. I think there's some confusion as to what's going on here. There are 2 separate raffles taking place. There's one that happens for the people who go to the golf tournament. And then there's one for people who, hey, you can't make it, but you want to win some great bourbon. So here's a raffle for you, right?
We try our best to keep everybody happy on that front. And
that is what we do.
Chris, Zach, Ken, I mean, they've really kind of come through in the clutch for us. So again, we have our corporate champions and then we have our brown liquor champions. So we have a new category.
So if people want to get in on the bourbon raffle that is not at the golf tournament, one that you can win just by being a listener, they can Venmo you at various raffle prices. How much is it for 3 tickets?
I got 2 different raffle prices going on.
Have you thought maybe you've overcomplicated your raffle?
No, because I finally got it right.
Oh, okay.
I think there's just a lot going on in general.
There is a lot going on.
Right. So I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not trying to say woe is us or any of that stuff.
Oh, no.
I think there's just a whole lot going on with
I'm just trying to let people
all over this state. Yeah.
I'm just trying to let people know that if they want in on the golf tournament when they previously thought it was wrapped up, there are spots now. So come golf with us on Friday.
The non-golf raffle.
Yes.
It's 3 tickets for $50. You get 10 for $100.
So okay. We got Stag in there.
Giglio, Joe, and Venmo.
We got a Stag in there. We got a
Stag,
Weller.
There's a Red Weller. There's a Trace. There's an Eagle Rare, 4 Roses, and the Basil Hayden Caribbean Rye,
which I might just put in for my own purposes.
Yes.
I'm just saying. So all of that taking place right now with the golf and the raffle. Speaking of our corporate champions, big thanks to Hometown Realty for being a corporate champion. You can check them out online at myhtr.com. Again, that's myhtr.com. Guaranteed offers are all the rage. The problem with guaranteed offers is that they're not really the value of your home. It's quick and easy, but you're not really getting the value of your home considering how hot this market is. So don't mess around with that and buy, sell with confidence with our friends at Hometown Realty. Also, big thanks to our attorneys and counselors at law, legal representation here for the OG Media Group. It is Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. And I'm debating, I know Catherine's going to be out there with Sierra Nevada on Friday for the OG Golf Classic. I'm wondering if there might be something to ease my swing at Nature's Relief.
Yeah. Delta 9.
You know how they call it swing lube?
Lube.
I don't know.
I might be sleeping. For you, though?
For me, I might be just loose, baby.
Your constitution? Yeah.
I might be loose.
I'm going to bring you a soda. That's an excellent idea.
Perfect. So check out Nature's Relief hempstore.com. That's RELEAF hempstore.com. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from LockedOn Panthers, he is Julian Council. Although, wait a minute, I know we're not scheduled to do the Roback read just yet, but man, look at you repping the Roback. Let me just go ahead and put that Roback OG20 to save 20% off your order, Joe. I hope you use that promo code, Julian.
I probably used a promo code way before you guys had the podcast and the sponsorship. But if Roback allows me to do another order, even though I've ordered like 5 times from them, I would love to use your promo code and get 20% off.
I think the promo code is, it's a one-time use for you. So if you've used other promo codes, that's fine. You haven't used our promo code. So use that promo code, Julian.
I need more hoodies, so absolutely. Can never have enough Roback hoodies.
So mad right now. You're already better looking than me. You're already know more about football than me. You're already better at podcasting than me, and now you're better at Roback ads than me.
I'll say this.
You know how long I'm trying to get my logo to be visible, not like perfect. It's a perfect ad, man.
Yeah.
You were wearing the green one the other day, and I have that one too. It's like, damn, Julia looks pretty good in it. And you know plenty of football. Like every time I hear you talking about just the state of triangle college football, I like swoon because it's like, wow, look at this guy. His hair, his takes, the hoodie, killing it.
All right, well, tell you what. Since we essentially did a glorified ad read in here, let's go ahead and like reset it real quick, and then we can just start this segment. We can get into why we're talking to Julian Council. How about that? So just hold on a sec. We're doing a little live to tape podcasting here. There's your Roback. Shout out to Roback. Use that promo code OG20. Now let's get to the business of talking about the Carolina Panthers, shall we? All right, let's actually talk about the Panthers with Julian Council right now.
Sure.
I need to Venmo him some money for that ad.
I know, right? No, we could just send him his own hoodie.
That's all I really want, honestly. Just send me one hoodie, and I'll be good.
All right, what's your size?
Yeah, what's your size?
Size large.
All right, we'll make that work. Did we just do another ad? Let's try this again. All right, Julian Council, LockedOn Panthers podcast, joining us on the Heaster Automotive Group hotline. All right, man. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills when it comes to the discourse around the Carolina Panthers.
Okay.
How good they actually are and what the needs of the team are. And there's this outright dismissal of trading guys that might bring in some draft picks. I'm not looking at it from all right, they need help on the defense. Go see if you can go find a guy and make a trade to make something different the rest of the season. No. If we're going to talk Deontay Johnson, and clearly there is a wide receiver market, the Kansas City Chiefs are certainly one of them because I can't see the Raiders trading with the Chiefs for a key asset, but I could see the Panthers trading with the Chiefs, who have traded for a wide receiver the last 2 seasons. If they can get some assets out of that, I don't know why you don't do that, especially when Adam Schefter is on the Pat McAfee show this week talking about how Deontay Johnson's not even coming back. Am I nuts for thinking this?
Yeah, Panther fans did not like when Schefter came out there and said that because they're finally seeing a receiver getting separation again after last year's horrors at the position, aside from Adam Thielen. It makes sense if you're Carolina. Like, this team is 1-3 right now. I feel like they got to wait to see how the next couple of games play out because the trade deadline is not until November 5th. And by the way, that's the week of the Munich game. So they're going to have to make a decision before that trade deadline. Like, they can't have somebody fly overseas and be like, oh, actually, Deontay or Adam, whoever, we're trading you. So you got to go back to the States and get ready to play for your new team by Sunday. But this is a couple years ago. You look at, they traded Christian McCaffrey. Why did they do that? Obviously, he's an excellent player, but also they didn't need to be paying a running back that much money when the team got off to a 1-5 start and needed to be able to fill other holes on the roster. And look at the team right now. Like, they don't have a quarterback of the future. Maybe it's still going to be Bryce Young, but it's not like you need Deontay Johnson to be out there this season because of the development of Bryce Young, who currently is sitting behind Andy Dalton. So it makes sense. Like, the defense is largely devoid of talent, and the talent that they do have is out for the rest of the season, or JC Horn. And we know he's not been able to hold up throughout his career so far at that corner spot. Like, they don't have a pass rush. They can't stop the run. They are going to have a completely new secondary as far as their safety spots next year, as all 3 of those guys who are seen as co-starters are free agents after the year. It makes the most sense to be able to get something out of Deontay Johnson if they're going to trade him away instead of letting him walk in free agency, which I don't really care about whether the guy walks or not. Like, that happens all the time. You could potentially get a comp pick and a yada, yada, yada. People get way too caught up on all that. But for a team that is 1-3 right now, that is unlikely to still be a playoff contender this season, and even next year, they should be focused on building the overall roster, getting those draft compensation, those picks, and then trying to build through the draft instead of focusing on a really good receiver, keeping him around for a team that's not really going anywhere this year and probably even next year.
What is your confidence level in this current regime, Dan Morgan specifically, and his ability to probably keep David Tepper at bay? What is your confidence level in this regime's draft acumen? Like, we keep talking about trading players away, and you just mentioned how they traded Christian McCaffrey away and used the primary asset from that trade on Bryce Young. So I'm looking at, but that's the previous regime, right? So I don't want to blame them. So Trayvon Wallace is the guy I'm thinking of now off the top of my head. That 3rd round pick, I got news for you. I can tell you why you're not good at football in the NFL. If you miss in 2, 3, and 4, or trade away 3 and 4 consistently, you're going to be in big trouble. So where is your confidence level in this group's ability, if they can even get some of these assets, to use them properly?
Yeah, well, Trevin Wallace is going to start for them at linebacker the rest of the season. So we're going to find out pretty early whether he's somebody that they're going to be able to build around defensively for the years to come. Because with Shaq Thompson being out for the rest of the year with the Achilles, and then Josie Jewell is going to miss at least this Sunday. So they're going to have to figure out that linebacker spot. And Trevin Wallace, somebody's going to step in there immediately. That felt like a pick for next season because Shaq is free agent after this year anyways. Probably was going to be heading out of Carolina. Now you get to see it right now and see what he's able to do. So we'll find out about that. I was impressed by Xavier Legette on Sunday in his first role, really as that number 2, stepping in for Adam Thielen. Had a couple of bad drops, but that happens as a rookie. He got a touchdown. We've seen that explosiveness, and he's already been better than what Jonathan Mingo was, the receiver they drafted the year prior out of Ole Miss in the 2nd round. I don't love the idea of them having Jonathan Brooks in the 2nd round, and then he's probably not going to play until after the bye week, if we're being honest. Dave Canales said on Monday that they're not opening up the window for him to return from the non-football injury list. That'd be a 21-day window for a guy who has not played at all during OTAs back in the spring or mini camp or training camp or the preseason. You're not going to have him come off that list and immediately play. You're going to have the full ramp-up period. So we're being honest, we're looking at the Saints game, maybe, but probably in reality, week 12 against the Chiefs. So he's not going to play the entire season. Meanwhile, you have Ashton Jeanty at Boise State, Amarion Hampton at North Carolina, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins at Ohio State, Ollie Gordon at Oklahoma State. If you wanted a running back, you should have just waited till 2025. So I do like the fact that
hold on though. Hold on. Because I heard you making this point when I was driving in on LockedOn. And I did that thing where I was yelling at my radio while listening to you make that point. I don't necessarily disagree with the point with the running backs that are coming out in this draft class, including Amari and Hampton, who is a very versatile player that's going to do some work in the NFL. But they weren't thinking about Jonathan Brooks and an injury, right? I mean, I know he had an injury.
Well, they knew he tore his ACL, and the PR machine came out immediately with Ian Rappaport and said he'll be ready July 1. But the team came out and said, we knew he was going to miss the beginning of the season. If you knew that, there's always a possibility that it's going to be worse than what you expected, and he's not going to be available for you. So I don't know. That's just one thing. But as far as the rookies, we're seeing Legette out there as a first rounder. We're seeing Wallace that is a positive. I have actually appreciated some of the trades that Morgan has made. You go back to the Brian Burns trade. They did not have a 2nd round pick that they had traded away to Chicago to get Bryce Young. They were able to finagle that by trading Brian Burns to the Giants, had an extra 2nd round pick, could be able to move up with confidence, get Legette, because they knew they still had a 2nd round pick, because Morgan wants to have a pick in every single round, traded back. The Rams, who got their pick, that led to the 2nd round pick next year. So that's good business. When they traded away Dante Jackson to get Deontay Johnson, they got a 7th round pick in return, drafted Michael Barrett, moved that pick, him, to Seattle to get Mike Jackson, who's been starting for them. So that has actually really helped them. So to get Deontay Johnson and Mike Jackson, 2 guys who have started and looked at the game a week ago against the Raiders, directly impacted the win there. I feel like Morgan's done a good job so far, trade value-wise, and also getting some of the rookies that he drafted out there on the field, where that had not been the case. At least last year's draft class, it was Bryce Young and then Chandler Zavala, who really struggled when he was out there as a starter.
Yeah, I guess to get back to the running back point, it's also where we are in the league right now. I mean, we have to be honest about what the league is right now. It's not a pass-happy league, and running backs have seen a resurgence. So I can envision a scenario too, especially for a guy who absolutely wants to run the ball, where they might kick the tires on a running back in next year's draft. I mean, obviously not in the first round, maybe not even the second round. But if it's a deep running back class, well, then maybe you take another guy so you can have a tandem in the back with Jonathan Brooks. I just don't think it's I don't think it's a crazy thought that taking Jonathan Brooks, understanding that he wasn't going to be at 100% to maybe start the season, but maybe they didn't think about it in the sense that he is not going to be ready after the first 4 weeks. It could also be too, maybe I'm thinking too galaxy brain here. Maybe Dave Canales and Dan Morgan have a little bit more assurance as a tandem to work in concert together, which was not really the case with the two previous regimes of a long play. Because I think we all recognize, and maybe David Tepper, we're not giving him enough credit because he doesn't deserve that credit. But maybe after a couple of cracks at it, he realizes, no, we have to actually rebuild. And the fact that they benched Bryce Young tells me that maybe they understand that a true rebuild needs to happen before they get the quarterback they really want.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's an argument to be made about drafting Jonathan Brooks and that this staff could be around for a while, and that, okay, you keep him around for the next 3 years after the season. Maybe they re-sign him. Like, I'm of the opinion that you draft a back, you have him for 4 years, you get a new back. We just see the drop-off rate from these guys. Now, there's not a lot of mileage on Brooks, though, because he only started that 1 year last season at Texas, and then he did get injured. Like, he was sitting behind Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson, who are both NFL backs, as we know. So that's probably the thing that they like, is the fact he didn't have a lot of mileage anyways. He's going to probably sit out most of the season, and then they can keep him around for the next 3 years. And if he works out, they could re-sign him. I hate the idea of that. Just go draft another back. That's kind of where I come from in that situation. And also the fact that you have Chuba Hubbard, who is outstanding this year, but also in the final year of his rookie deal. Run him into the ground. Miles Sanders, you're not going to have him after this season. Run him into the ground. You have two guys who are experienced vets who have been good players. Like, run those guys into the ground, then go out there and get your rookie in what appears to be a deeper running back draft class. And I hate myself on October 2nd be talking NFL draft, something I absolutely hate, but here we are.
Fair enough. Julian Council, LockedOn Panthers podcast.
Before we let him go.
Yeah.
If there are Panther fans out there who are like clutching the pearls over losing Deontay Johnson or trading Deontay Johnson, the same thing as I just said about Wallace getting in there, Liggett then becomes your number one receiver for the rest of the year. I mean, and that's what you went and got him for anyway. Johnson's not part of your long-term plans anyway. So I don't see that as a downside, even if it's a 5th round pick for Johnson. Now, the Chiefs might be willing to pay more based on what I've been able to figure out of the Chiefs salary cap situation. And you mentioned the Raiders' willingness to trade Devontae Adams to him. I mean, that's probably not going to be very high, is it?
No, I mean, it's like $3.5 million, I think, if they do wait to around the trade deadline of the salary that they're going to have to pay for Deontay Johnson, if you're like Kansas City or whatever team may trade for him. But you bring up a great point about just like, and I think I brought this up as well on my recent show, like, you get to develop, you get to see Xavier Leggett and Jonathan Mingo, two guys where you need to figure out what you have in them. As like, Thielen's not a long-term play here in Carolina. Deontay Johnson potentially could be. Like, let's be real, y'all. Even if you're a Panthers fan, if you're Deontay Johnson, you're coming from Pittsburgh, you had a quarterback situations there. You come to Charlotte. Bryce Young looks terrible the first 2 weeks. They put in Andy Dalton, who, again, not a long-term answer here. Why would you want to come back here? You would want to go move on somewhere else and be in a situation where you have a quarterback and also can be able to make another big contract. He had another contract he's on currently, but this is his chance to make a lot of money. I don't know if that's going to be here in Carolina. But development, that should be the focus. They have Andy Dalton at quarterback. We know Andy Dalton can get the receivers the football. You get to see the development of Xavier Leggett and of Jonathan Mingo, and of course, Jatavion Sanders as well, the tight end out of Texas, who's had to play. So speaking of rookies, that's 3 guys that are getting a lot of work right now here that were just drafted back in April. So yeah, that's the one benefit to look at. And you're excited. Deontay Johnson's playing well the last 2 weeks, but this is probably never going to be something I was going to stick around long-term anyways.
So you actually, this is what we'll close on, because you did kind of lead me to a frustration, reminded me of my frustration of talking to Kyle Bailey on WFNZ yesterday. I did a radio hit with him yesterday.
Oh, no.
And, you know,
he loves the refs, man. He loves them.
Come on, man. I mean, I am what I am. I am what I am. So I'm listening to Kyle do the intro, and he's talking about the text line, and fans are locked in. You're like, why would you do all this? And I'm thinking to myself, and Kyle knows this, and you know this. How many times how many times do Panther fans have to go through this where they're acting as though some glimmer of hope, a 2-win streak, Kyle Allen part 2 kind of situation, right?
Let's not bring that name up.
No, but I bring that up because it's a prime example of what we do as fans. I get it. They've sucked for a while now. But that doesn't mean because you win a couple of games like a normal ass football team that suddenly you're like, this is it. And I think it's more, I know. Yeah, I think it's more of it's not just the win. It's also looking like a normal football team and a loss to the Bengals. I think that's important, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, why do fans hurt themselves all the time like this? Like, you got to be honest with what this is. Like, it's great to feel it again. Like, hey, man, Panthers brought me back in because they actually look like a normal team again, but I'm not going to like cloud my judgment because I'm happy they won a game. But we do.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating to me.
It is frustrating, but like, are you still a fan of anything? Because I'm not asking this like to be rude. Like, are you still a fan of a team? Like, I know as we get into this, yeah.
Yeah, I'm legitimately a fan of the Panthers, and I'm legitimately a fan of the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are like the one thing I allow myself to be a fan about.
So there we go. That's what. So there are times that we still do this, even as like people like in our position, like in the media or whatever, where like, look, man, I love North Carolina football.
Mm-hmm.
When I watched the Central game and they put in they put in Criswell and he looked like a capable quarterback, I was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah,
got an opportunity,
and
then 70 points against JMU. So like I did it 2 weeks ago.
Hey, but he had like 400 some odd yards, man.
But they're cooked. But like I've done that. It's like I understand. Like I get your frustration because I feel that way too. Like I have like more so detached myself from any sort of fandom with the Panthers. Like I talk about the team on a daily basis. Like obviously I grew up here going to games with my dad. Like have love for the franchise, want them to succeed, but it's not going to ruin my day or make my day whether they win or lose. But like that's what you do as a fan. Like I get it because I've done it myself. Like I can't sit here and necessarily criticize it. You would like to be able to at least have, I don't know, it's a level head about certain situations. But I mean, yeah, you're not wrong because they won one game. They looked good on offense.
Yeah.
And then someone's saying to me, like, hey, they're only one game out of division. Like, sure.
Okay.
But they're still not good on defense, man.
Okay.
And we saw on Sunday when they lost Cincinnati, this is why they're still not going to go anywhere because they sacrificed their entire defensive talent, the young talent that they had cultivated over the last couple of years in order to fix the offense with Bryce Young as a quarterback. And well, that went out the window after 2 games. So I get it. I do the same thing. Like I was talking myself into, look, man, Carolina, win this game against JMU, go beat a bad Duke team, be 5-0. Looking around the landscape of college football, I don't know, maybe game day, 5-0 Carolina versus 4-0 Pitt.
Wow.
Look at me now.
Wow. Okay, Julian, I didn't know you were that deep. Goodness.
Sicko.
You are a sicko. You are an absolute sicko. But you have to be a sicko to talk about the Panthers 5 days a week and after games. Anyway, man, LockedOn Panthers, check it out. It's a pretty consistent listen for me. Julian Council. I'll see you next week, actually, because we'll be in Charlotte for ACC tip-off. So we'll have
a
we'll make sure that happens.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, man. Later. Joining us on the Heaster Automobile Hotline from O2 Renew Physiotherapy, he is Matthew Schmidt. Matt, what's going on, man? You're in the Durham location. What's going on?
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much for having me on. Just excited to be here. Starting off a Wednesday the right way, talking about sports.
Hey, man, you can't ask for a better situation. But of course, we got to talk about injuries, unfortunately, which is not a fun way to go about this. So the Carolina Panthers are in it right now. Because their defense keeps getting these hits, and Shaq Thompson is just the latest hit to this. But there's a larger conversation with Shaq Thompson. There's this Achilles tear that has him out for the rest of the season. But he also had a broken fibula last year. And I see this online all the time, like, he's just injury prone, or it's bad luck injuries, or something like that. Look, in your experience, is there such a thing as somebody who is, quote unquote, injury prone?
It's a good question. I don't think that there's somebody who is injury prone. I think that there are people who adopt habits that make them more susceptible to these injuries. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Shaq Thompson, just by being him is, something about the composition of his body that makes him more prone to these injuries. I think it's, what habits is he undertaking that are putting his body in a position to be injured more frequently?
Mm-hmm. It does seem like it's the year of the Achilles, Matt. We got Christian McCaffrey, you got Aaron Rodgers coming back from his, Kirk Cousins dealing with his. What is it kind of about that connecting muscle there that's really gonna screw people up, and they seem to have a hard time coming back from it and recovering from it?
So the biggest thing about it is, if you put your hand behind your heel, that big rope thing on the top of your heel, that's what the Achilles is. And the biggest thing about it is it connects the muscle that is primarily in charge of all the explosive movements, right? So you got your calf complex. It's made up of 3 muscles in particular. You got your gastrocnemius, your tibialis posterior, and your soleus. Those 3 muscles are what you feel back there when you're doing calf raises, and they're chiefly responsible for that explosive movement that a lot of these football players get off the get up, whether they're running a route, changing direction. And so obviously it's relied upon a lot throughout the game. And so that's why it can be so hard for these players to come back from it and regain most of their function. Additionally, it's just a really thick band of connective tissue. So if you have these injuries that, are a rupture or a little bit of a strain, or tendonitis, like what Christian McCaffrey has going on, it's really thick. So for it to gain all of that tensile, structural integrity back can be a challenge for a lot of people.
I guess so. There's 2 ways to look at this, and this is where Renew Physiotherapy comes into play. And we're trying to repair Giglio. We're trying to, like the $1 Million Man, like put him back together so he's not. Although in our case,
$1,000 man, maybe
like the Timu man here. That's what we'll call you. So we're trying to put Giglio back together, and Renew Physiotherapy is part of that. And there's all sorts of ways that he can get his neck back straight and everything else. To your point, yeah, it's difficult for guys to come back, but I feel like where we are with research, with technology, to get back on the field and be somewhat still capable. I think it's pretty incredible that guys are even getting back on the field after things like an Achilles tear. And I guess that comes down to the science of getting back to where you might have been before. I mean, is that where we're at right now?
Very incredible. And I think it just speaks to the advancements that we've made, particularly in sports medicine and in sports rehab. And things like, one of the reasons I love my company so much is we're exploring the cutting edge technology, whether it be modalities like these red light lasers that break up soft tissue and these adhesions that are going on in these tendon tissue. But we're really looking into the research and saying, hey, what's the most up-to-date intervention that we can use to get these guys back on the field as much as possible? And I think you combine that with just the sheer determination and consistency that these athletes have with their craft and getting back on the field as soon as they can. I think that's definitely taken an uptick, especially as these, high school and college athletes, especially like with NIL now, like now there's more of a financial incentive to get your tail back on the field. Mm-hmm. So you can produce for your team and for yourself as well.
Hold on. Lasers? Do we need to get enough of that dry needling stuff, Giglio? We need to get lasers on you. Could that
I'm here for it.
Break up some tissue in your neck? That might actually be the thing that you need, man.
Who knew?
Matthew, we appreciate the time. You're at the O2 Renew Physiotherapy out in Durham. Always enjoy our check-ins with Renew Physiotherapy. It's all part of O2 Fitness. It is more than a gym.
O2 Fitness, so much more than a gym.
I saw our friend Trip Tracy at O2 yesterday. Didn't bother him. He was digging in on the bike. Inspired me to get on the recumbent bike. And then I cramped up because I'm out of shape. I do not look like Trip Tracy. But anyway, go to o2fitnessclubs.com. Again, that's o2fitnessclubs.com. I'm not Trip, man. It is what it is. I own it. Big thanks to our friends at Happy and Hale. I mean, look, I saw Trip. He's back in town. You know what that means.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
I need to eat better to start looking like Trip, man. So head on over to Happy and Hail. Download the app today. Makes it super, super easy for you to get in and out. Order your food. They have it ready for you to go, and off you go. Joe.
Breaking news. Happy and Hale's relationship with the Lenovo Center continues this season.
Yes.
Big news yesterday from Jordan over at Happy and Hale. So I was excited. Went over there. I had lunch yesterday over in North Hills. They just make it too easy. The food's too good. And yes, the deal was made. The deal is done.
See,
They're back in the arena.
I made the mistake thinking the deal was already made. So I was kind of flooded. Like, I think they're back in section 123. And one of our listeners messaged me saying, hey, where's the Happy and Hail? And I'm like, well, it's preseason. It's preseason.
No, they're there.
They're there.
I'm excited.
I might see them tonight because I'll be going to the community game. So again, big thanks to Happy and Hail. Big thanks to our friend Matt Davis over at State Farm. Check him out online at insuregarner.com, theoginsurance.com. Or you can call him directly, 919-779-8277. We're going to be doing OG live there in a couple of weeks. I'm very excited to get my red State Farm polo. You can call me Joe from State Farm.
Just as long as you wear the khakis with it.
I will wear the khakis with it. I will absolutely wear the khakis with it. So you got a home. You got it insured, right? You save money with Matt Davis. That money that you save, we'll double down on the money savings by contacting our friends at bugsbite.com. Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority, they're going to make sure that I am mosquito-free while swinging that ridiculous 14 wood, or whatever it is that I bought. I don't even remember. But either way, Mosquito Authority taking care of us. And they can take care of the inside of your home, too, with Pest Authority. So contact them today at bugsbite.com. Y'all, we're about to get deep right now. We're going to have a lightning round within a lightning round. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's enough little NFL things going on right now that we can have a lightning round within a lightning round. Let's go. I got three coaches on there. Three coaches on the they are about to get fired list, Joe. Who goes first? Doug Peterson with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have not won, I think, 9 straight games now. They haven't won. You got Nick Sirianni, who Jalen Hurts this week said, hey, how's your relationship with Nick Sirianni? And he goes, we have our moments. That's not what you want to hear between your franchise quarterback and your head coach who's been feeling it this year. Injuries aside. And of course, you got Robert Saleh with the New York Jets, who, by the way, it must be said, I focused on Aaron Rodgers. Okay. And Nick Wright made this point on First Things First. This is an amazing stat that Nick Wright pulled. In the history with Robert Saleh and the Jets and the quarterback history they've had as of late, between Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson, the Jets defense provided games where the opponent had 10 points or less. And between Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson, the Jets only lost once when the Jets defense provided opportunities with 10 points or less. Obviously, with the Denver Broncos this week, they scored 10 points, and Aaron Rodgers, the baddest man, could only muster 9 points, along with a bunch of procedural penalties that took place. And, you know, this is one of those things where they put it on Aaron Rodgers. But we all know who wins in these situations. It's always going to be Aaron Rodgers. The room likes Aaron. It's easy to get rid of the coach in this situation to keep Aaron happy. They've acquiesced that room control to him. So between Robert Saleh with the Jets, Nick Sirianni with the Eagles, and Doug Peterson with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who's getting axed first?
It's going to be Sirianni because that team can still be saved.
Yeah.
I know they have a lot of injuries. Maybe they can make a move for Devontae Adams at receiver, but that team can still be salvaged. The other teams, you know, the Jets are going to end up
The Jets
are going to end up doing Jets things, and the Jaguars they're not fixable. So there's no point in firing Doug Peterson.
A lightning round within a lightning round within a lightning round. Is Trevor Lawrence salvageable at this point? Or is he kind of is what he is at this point?
Again, I'll go back. I think he's just your friend in high school who peaked in high school.
Yeah, maybe.
Man, he was banging every cheerleader you were looking for. He was awesome at football. He probably had a Nintendo. He probably had a really cool Jeep or something. And then all of a sudden,
he could go into the club and say, who wants to sex Trevor Lawrence? Is that what you're saying?
Who wants to sex Sunshine? And then, and then.
All right. Chiefs and Vikings are both undefeated, 4-0 on the season. Which one's more real?
Both teams with excellent defenses.
Yeah, that's what makes it tricky.
Both teams with excellent play callers.
Uh-huh.
One has a Hall of Fame greatest of all time quarterback. The other has Sam Darnold. But Sam Darnold has really good pieces around him.
Yes, which he's never had.
So, which one's more real? I mean, the Chiefs are obviously real. The Chiefs are going to three-peat. It's fait accompli.
Well,
I've stopped fighting it.
As we talked about with Julian Council, the curiosity that I have with the Chiefs now that you get the Rashee Rice injury, are they going to make a third trade,
Yeah,
the third year in a row for another wide receiver? It can get some sort of like bargain basement thing, right?
I mean, Deontay Johnson just makes way too much sense for them.
Way too much sense right now because the whole Devontae Smith or Devontae Adams and the Raiders and they're not going to trade him to the Chiefs. I'm sorry, this is not going to work out that way. They probably want too much in that situation, but they can't have Deontay Johnson, and that would be curious to see. So this is tough for me. This is tough for me because you also have a sunsetting Travis Kelce too.
Mm-hmm.
But Travis Kelce is in that mode where he can still get you like we saw this past week. But there's something a little off about Patrick Mahomes right now. But I'm also not going to make the mistake of what do I think is more likely to happen? That Patrick Mahomes stays this way the rest of the season or Sam Darnold stays this way the rest of the season?
Let's think of it this way. And not to shortchange Patrick Mahomes.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
The Chiefs are winning right now because of a very specific reason. That is their defense, and they're not making mistakes on offense. They're not making big plays, but they're not making mistakes.
No.
So that's a very sustainable model for the Chiefs because, quite frankly, that's how they won their last two Super Bowls. They haven't been the Ferrari. They haven't been this, tremendous machine on offense.
They're
They've
the Patriots
been
again.
A very smart team with a really good defense. I think the Vikings are sustainable. I don't think the Vikings are winning because of Sam Darnold, even though you can make a ridiculous Sam Darnold MVP candidate. Is the MVP thus far in the quarter poll. You can make a lucid argument in that case, but I think the Vikings are winning the same way. Their defense is very good, and Sam Darnold's not making mistakes. Not making mistakes.
Yeah. All right. Steelers are 3-1, top of their division. Russell Wilson's just sitting there.
Yeah, you
don't mess with it. I mean, that's as simple as that for me. You don't mess with it. I don't care if Russell Wilson's healthy. If things start to fall apart with Justin Fields or whatever it is, all right, then fine, you can go to Russell. But hey, man, you're 3-1. In a very Steelers way, I ain't messing with it.
Speaking of Achilles and calf injuries, yeah,
that's tricky. That's tricky for Russell.
With Russ at that age, and obviously he's a guy who depends on his legs. So no, I don't think you'll see him until either Fields gets hurt or the Pittsburgh offense really bogs down.
All right, that's your lightning round within a lightning round. Just wanted to put that one out there. That's Inception for you folks. All right, let's move on to the rest of lightning round.
Topics stack it up. Giglio throw back it up. Well, I know what we'll do. A lightning round.
Saw this on Twitter yesterday. Greensboro Complex tweeted out, "We are pleased to share that Greensboro Coliseum is now First Horizon Coliseum. Same iconic venue, same new name." No, it's not. I mean, no offense to First Horizon Coliseum. I mean, who knows? We might have to bank with them at some point in the future. Has nothing to do with the bank, but I'm sorry. We're not calling you anything other than the Greensboro Coliseum. Also, Josh Graham, WSJS, I gave you one ultimatum. One. If you're not selling, I still call it Greensboro Coliseum t-shirts by the end of the day, then I'm unfollowing you. Guess what he didn't do?
Oh, no. Did you unfollow Josh?
Well, I'm going to do it right now.
Oh, no.
He did not. I'm looking at his timeline. What do we got here? Oh, yeah, blah, 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 boom. Okay, we got Miami stuff. I see this with B-Dot. Shout out to B-Dot. No, he's tweeting about the freaking Orioles. Guess what?
Oh, man.
Unfollow Josh Graham show.
He already had a hard day yesterday with Orioles getting great pitching and losing 1-0.
I gave him one job. Sell t-shirts. It's super easy to do now, man. Did I have to put him in contact with our guy Jamie over at Breaking Tea?
Why don't we sell Greensboro Coliseum t-shirts? It's not like Greensboro or Coliseum are trademarked.
That's a really good point. I should probably text Jamie right now. I'm thinking
green shirt, white lettering.
Yeah, I'm gonna text him right now. Okay.
We've got a lot to get to. It's a lightning round.
Greensboro Coliseum shirt would be amazing.
Oh, that would be
You'd
fire.
have the Stamey's Chop Barbecue. You'd have like the flags. You'd have the ACC logo. You could have David Thompson blocking Bill Walton. I mean, come on.
Oh man.
Larry Rose giving the technical to the NC State ball boy for wiping up the floor.
Come
on.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to text Jamie right now.
The Ravens owner getting shot in the butt.
Yeah.
His bodyguard shooting himself in the butt.
I'm texting him right now. But while I'm texting him, you said you're right. It was a hard day for our friend Josh Cram because the Orioles got beat by the Royals.
1-0. It was a close game. They got a great outing out of their pitcher. They just couldn't score a run.
So Orioles done? Is this like the most predictable thing ever?
For Josh's sake today, I actually bet against the Orioles only because now the Royals have their ace going tonight or this afternoon. And I actually think the Royals have been a better team over the last 2 months. So we'll see what happens.
All right. I still call it Greensboro Coliseum shirts.
It's plus money, by the way, if we're DraftKinging.
What we will.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead. You know what?
You want to break into the lightning round within the lightning round?
Within lightning rounds, let's do an OG Gambling Syndicate within the lightning round. All right, so use that promo code OG24. Brand new customers who bet $5 will get $200 in bonus bets. Yes, we are in the thick of college football season. And let me tell you, there are a lot of great options for college football to kind of get you into the game a little bit more. And if you're a newbie out there, you could do something as simple as anytime touchdowns, money lines, with just who do you think is going to win, all that kind of stuff. And new DraftKings customers who bet $5 will get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use that promo code OG24. But it goes beyond just college football, Joe. As you said, baseball. What do we got here?
Seth Lugo, the Royals' best pitcher, on the mound tonight, trying to close out this afternoon, 4:30, trying to close out the Baltimore Orioles. The line is plus 130. You're getting plus money. You should always take plus money. In baseball, says the guy who spends all summer betting on favorites.
Can you still do those Nerfies?
You can do a Nerfie or a Yerfie, either one. Now, there was one total run scored in this game yesterday. So if you don't want to pick a side, you can go, that's a pretty starchy number, 7.5 today. Kind of working under the theory that neither of these teams has great pitching. But again, this is the Royals' best pitch. I'll just keep saying it. I'm just keep giving you the one talking point that I have here. But 7.5 is the total. You could go under.
All right. Fair enough. So again, use that promo code OG24. It's super easy for first timers. The app, and look, this is coming from somebody who never did any sort of sports wagering ever. The only time I ever did it, I embarrassed myself in a Las Vegas casino where I walked up to the booth and I was like, hi, I would like to put $5 down on a Carolina Panthers futures bet to win the NFC South. And the guy just quietly stared at me and then pointed to the sheets of paper that were over in the corner.
Yeah, it's not that anymore.
It's not that anymore. So you just pull up the app and you make it super simple. Heck, Joe, I got preseason hockey tonight.
Oh.
You said I get that preseason Canes action, right?
Canes are, it might be still too early in the no.
No.
No, they must have announced the lineups, which means the Hurricanes are not starting any. No,
they're starting. So it's
Hold on.
They got like an almost sold out building tonight. They're gonna play some people, man.
Are you sure? Because the Canes are plus 235.
Oh, geez.
That means the Predators are starting everybody, and the Canes probably aren't dressing that many people.
Okay.
Because that's how you have to do NHL preseason. You have to look at who's, and they tell you these things in the NHL.
Yeah.
There'll be an announcement here. They 10:30 at the skate. They'll tell you who's actually dressing for tonight. That must be what happened here.
Okay. So,
but if you're feeling it and you think the Canes are going to be inspired tonight, even better on the money
full
line.
building?
Plus 235.
So use that promo code OG24.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
All right, let's go out of however many levels of inception we're in right now. Lightning rounds within OG Gambling Syndicates. And let's just get back to the lightning round.
There are many topics for lightning rounds today on OG.
You know, it's funny in college football, typically with the old 4-team playoff format, we talk about dark horses. We talk about teams that can surprise you. And they sound like your typical, teams that have some semblance of football pedigree, but have never broken through or have a hard time breaking through. Like, it makes sense that North Carolina would be considered a team to look out for.
Yeah.
Or NC State, or heck, Virginia Tech earlier this year, because they have this football pedigree, right?
Yeah.
But with the 12-team format, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel for the surprises. And I present to you, Joe, the darling of the week in college football. Do you know who it is?
Is it still UNLV?
No.
No. Who?
In terms of a college football playoff spot?
No.
Indiana.
Oh, Kurt Signetti.
Right?
Okay.
We're talking Indiana football. That's how desperate we've gotten now.
Well,
that's because the Big Ten needs 4 automatic qualifiers. So we could get Indiana in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what we really need. So I just thought that was kind of
this
funny.
is truly about.
What's this truly about?
Scheduling roulette.
Yeah, that's true too.
They do play Michigan and Ohio State though. So Michigan's at home. So I guess the premise there is if they go 11-1, don't make the Big Ten championship game, sit at home at 11-1, they would still get in.
There you go.
I mean, maybe.
As we all wanted. This is what we wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't know how else to put it. Ultimately, this is what we wanted. We're gonna put our noses up of like Indiana. Well, this is the system working, technically, along with a little bit of scheduling roulette, but just something to keep an eye on. Last in the lightning rounds, we talked a little bit about the playoffs in baseball, but baseball tends to have this issue sometimes where the playoffs are taking place, but there's a larger conversation that overtakes the baseball discourse. Sometimes it's a trade, like what's Alex Rodriguez going to do? Like those types of things. How does Scott Boras want to manipulate the news cycle in the middle of the playoffs, right? Well, in this case, it's Pete Rose. And I feel like I'm in the Wayback Machine because we're having
talk about radio scars,
buddy. Woo! Let me tell you, I might have to update this because it's been a long enough time. But one time I gave away the game, a Mount Rushmore of topics that indicate to you your favorite sports talk show host doesn't feel like working today.
Okay. And/or it's July, and you got a lot to get into.
The same things. That's the same thing to me.
Okay.
It's the same thing to me. There's no difference between what you just said and what I just said. I don't feel like working today.
I translated it.
I got to get to the pool. I'm trying to get to the beach this weekend, whatever it is.
Let's open the phone lines.
Let's open up the phone lines. And one of the easiest ways to open up the phone lines is talk about Pete Rose.
Pete Rose.
Should he be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
And after his death, and people kind of go through the whole, Charlie Hustle and this and that. And as we said, look, if you're going to talk about Pete Rose, you have to talk about all of Pete Rose and whether he can get into the Baseball Hall of Fame or not has been resurfaced in the sports talk landscape. Okay. Where you got 8 bazillion shows all talking about the same thing. But I did want to do some clarity here because there's the whole lifetime ban versus permanently ineligible.
Okay.
Right. I'm going to read directly from the Washington Post. Induction to the Hall of Fame is a separate matter, with its board of directors voting unanimously in 1991 to adopt a rule excluding players on the permanently ineligible list for consideration for enshrinement. 2 years ago, Rob Manfred, the current commissioner of Major League Baseball, said, quote, "When I dealt with the issue the last time he applied for reinstatement, I made clear that I didn't think the function of that baseball list was the same as the eligibility criteria for the Hall of Fame. That remains my position. I think it's a conversation that really belongs to the Hall of Fame board. I'm on that board. It's just not appropriate for me to get in front of those talks." He reiterated that recently as last year. In a statement Monday, the Baseball Hall of Fame said simply that, quote, "It remembers Pete Rose, MLB's all-time hits and games played leader, who passed away on Monday. Charlie Hustle won 3 batting titles, earned 17 All-Star Game selections, and won 3 World Series championships." That's what they left it at. This is where the cowardice comes into play. Because again, they voted as a whole in 1991 to punt on the decision that they knew they were going to have to make.
That's 1991.
1991.
I think the conversation and tone around gambling has changed. That doesn't change what Pete Rose did.
No.
But I do think the conversation and our willingness to accept gambling as a prevalent part of not only sports culture, but the media culture I think ultimately will lead to him being posthumously inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, where he belongs as the all-time hit leader and I think he is actually the winningest player of all time if you want to go by team wins. So it's probably a no-brainer at this point.
It's a no-brainer. The Veterans Committee can make these changes. They can vote on it again to change those rules. And again, I'll just reiterate my position on this, which I think I've been ultimately right about since this topic has been a topic. The Baseball Hall of Fame is a museum. Tell the whole damn story. Yeah. It's not that complicated. Big thanks to our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Check them out online, homefieldapparel.com. OG24 is the promo code where you can save 15% off your order. Like we were talking about with Julian earlier, you might have used other promo codes. That's fine. That doesn't exclude you from using our promo code, which helps us. Okay. I don't care about those other promo codes. Use our promo code. All right. It's like back in the day with the Target coupon hustling. There's all sorts of ways you can save here. Utilize all your promo codes, including ours. So OG24 is that. They got incredible shirts, incredible hoodies, but they also have a bunch of great one-offs as well.
You know what I'm going to do?
The pullovers, my dude. Have you seen that?
I know, but you know what I'm going to do for you, just for you?
What's that?
I am going to win the OG Golf Classic on Friday. I am going to win first prize. I am going to use my gift card to buy you a Miami Hurricanes coach's jacket.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Big thanks to our friends over at the Butcher's Market. You can check them out. Various locations across the triangle. I got my home base off of Falls of the Noose. I know there's Lake Boone as well, which we'll get to in a second.
Headed to Lake Boone today.
Get a sandwich?
I'm going to get a sandwich. I'm going to double dip. I'm going to OG dip this thing.
Fantastic. Because you go to the Butcher's Market to get a sandwich, maybe some things to take home and grill, maybe get ready for a tailgate. And then you can pop over to Two Roosters.
Yes, it's apple, dapple, capple, trapple time. Yes.
Buy a lot of it because proceeds go to relief efforts in the western part of North Carolina. So by all means, go to tworoosters.com to find out more. Buy a bunch of ice cream. That's how you can help while also helping your calorie count. That's all I'm saying. It's fantastic. Calories are all worth it. Absolutely. Big thanks to our friends at Breeze Through as well. Check them out, breezethrough.com. And with Breeze Through, they got all of your tailgate needs. And when I say that, I mean it. We're talking beer caves, we're talking chips, we're talking ice, clean bathrooms, and by the way, low-key, great car wash by Lenovo Center.
Oh, listen, I know it's not like always the greatest thing to go get something for somebody when they already have access to it, right?
Yeah.
But Adam is the biggest Georgia fan I know, so I'm going to go get him a large dark roast, bring it over to him, and make sure that he's okay. We're going to see him we're going to see him on Friday.
Yeah,
but yeah. I got to make sure we take care of him because where would we be without Breeze?
That makes sense. That makes sense. All right, let's get out of here on some Hey Joe questions. That's brought to you by Longleaf. Check them out online at longleafswine.com. Maybe you don't want to go through the whole process of a tailgate spread that you cook yourself. No worries. You can get stuff catered with our friends from Longleaf.
Absolutely delicious. You will be the star of your tailgate. The smash burger now on the menu at lunchtime, by the way.
Let's go to the OG sports phone. This is from a 919 area code.
OG. Just got done listening to the Doran Monday presser. How pathetic as usual. But he said something that was very interesting. He said that when Grayson McCall is ready to play, he will be out there. So in other words, we're going to waste an entire year of eligibility for CJ Bailey to put Grayson McCall back in, who can't throw the ball 15 yards down the field. I mean, is he really serious? Now, I mean, McCall doesn't look like Tom Brady, for God's sakes, or Russell Wilson right now, but we have a future with him. He is the future, and he's going to be really good. He needs the reps. He needs the playing time. for the future with his young receivers. Well, no. Doran wants to put Grayson McCall back in. If that happens, I'm not going back to Carter Finley. I'm going to leave my seats empty, and I'm not even going to turn on the damn television. But it would be very typical for stubborn Doran to do this. Would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
So he called before yesterday's show.
He
obviously.
called. I think he called before yesterday's show. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let's cross that bridge when we get there. I think Dave was playing super close to the vest. There's no reason to make any big public declarations or bury Grayson McCall. So I think that's basically what he was doing.
No, I think the way that you positioned it yesterday is perfect. Dave has learned enough now in his 12th year at NC State that I don't have to tell you everything.
Yeah, and you never know. I mean, you really don't.
And you don't know what's going
really
on behind the scenes. I really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Let's see. Over to Twitter in reference to this college student football league. This is from Will. I'm so tired of this mess. Just give me a stream of Duke basketball and football games, and everybody else can go pound sand. I have little interest in supporting anything else if it's going to cost me more in the long run. Honestly, I think there is a certain element at play here with fans that they're fatigued by all this stuff. Certainly in play. From JP, every time Rob Stone talks about nugs during the first commercial at the beginning of an OG pod, I drive a little closer to the dispensary. It's advertising, but it ain't doing what Rob thinks it's going to do. Have you tried Wendy's nugs? Shout out to our friends at Blue Wire. Drinking and driving.
We got to do greatest hits. Are we done? I got one last to send us home.
Yeah, go send us home, man.
Update from our guy, Wade Finch.
Yeah.
The dad who watches our program with his son, Ben.
Yeah, as somebody pointed out in the YouTube comment section real quick as I pull this up, where was it? It's like, Jill from Doug. Julian got the dump. A little post editing.
Yeah, we had
a little post editing there, you know?
From Wade. Remember, he was like, we reached out. He's very nice. Wanted to shout out him and his son.
Yeah.
They have quality father-son time together listening to this program, watching this program sometimes on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I gave him a shout out yesterday, and I gave you something to go home with.
Yeah.
And then Wade goes, "Hey man, thanks for the shout out, and I'll tell Ben to put the haters on notice." As someone who's made a living using words, I should have come up with that myself, Wade. So appreciate you again, you and Ben, for checking us out here on the OG.
Also, shout out to Brian Bliss, another a guy who's an old timer radio guy. He pointed out, it's like, I remember the Who Wants to Sex Matumbo reset on the Rome show. More Joe Ovies' days as a board off at 8:50. Yeah, man, those were the days. Waiting on Patrick Keenis to say the magic words during a Mudcats game to take it to commercial break. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up, folks. We will see you for an OG Live brought to you by
The Butcher's Market.
Let's go.